Hello everyone and welcome to part 1 of the Chalice Dungeons. So, now that I have access to my runes, and I'm at level 45, and I have a +6 weapon, I should be severely over-leveled for this Depth 1 Chalice Dungeon. The only fixed Chalice Dungeon of Depth 1. The very first one we're going to be doing, first one anyone does. So this should be a fucking breeze, and I should not have anywhere near as much trouble as I did the last time I tried recording this, where everything got completely fucked. So I just used the 2 Depth 1 Ritual Bloods that I got on the from the Chalice Altar on the way to the Bloodstarved Beast, and the Pthumerian Chalice that I got from the Bloodstarved Beast, and now on to the Pthumerian Labyrinth. So what I'm going to be doing for this series is going through all of the fixed dungeons, then going through each of the root dungeons at least once. No, just once. And then I'll even do a couple... I might do a few sinister chalices just to show off the differences between them and root dungeons. Of course, that's going to be the offline differences because I'm not paying $10 a month to have people come into my game and kick my ass while I'm trying to get shit done. And I'll wrap things up by performing a few additional offerings and showing off what extra challenges those provide. Oh my god, I'm gonna one-shot everything! We've got an oil pit at the bottom of this ladder and a dickhead throwing Molotovs. I underestimated my own throwing arm. Holy shit. This is why we stack healing gems onto a single weapon. To recover health while I'm not fighting anything. And those oil pits increase the damage you take from fire attacks. Woo! Fucking little... I hate fighting anything in these tunnels, especially trying to lock onto them, because the goddamn camera winds up angling towards the ground too much. Okay. You need to stop fucking around and do what you're supposed to do. See? Extremely easier than the ones you fight in the main game. This is Depth 1. This is basically New Game 0.5 difficulty. So when you come to a room like this, with these swinging axes, this is actually a... Hi. This is actually a 3-floored room. And that... Jesus Christ, you guys are stupid. That, bridge you see up there, that's actually the 3rd floor. Of all the time I've spent doing Chalice Dungeons, I have only once ever had access to the 3rd floor of this room. Mid-floor being the bridge, of course, but this bottom, the basement floor here, you want to check the underside of the bridge and make sure there isn't any of those gooey slime ball things, because they will do a massive amount of damage to you if they manage to land on your head. And occasionally they will hide wandering nightmares inside these pillars. So it's worth taking a smack at them just to make sure there's nothing in there. If the wandering nightmare does leave and bugger off on you, you can always just, like, save and reset the game to bring them back, no matter where you find them. Hey, boys. My god, this is too easy. The important thing about exploring Chalice Dungeons is to explore them fully and obtain all the treasure you possibly can from them, because they will provide you with plenty of Chalice materials for exploring further dungeons and even visiting the same ones repeatedly if that's what you want to do. And if you're going after all the uncanny and lost weapons and Carol runes, then you are definitely going to want to visit Root Dungeons multiple times. Now, this is where I managed to fuck up and get myself killed last time I came through here, which was utterly fucking shameful, because this prick is tossing poison knives. He managed to stagger me right in front of those fucking axes and got me killed. Now, these red enemies are phantoms that are being summoned by the Bell Maiden, but once we kill her, everyone she summoned dies with her. And there's a prick up there throwing poison knives in my face. You bastard. Thing is, they make the noise. They make the noise that suggests they're throwing the poison knives the instant they begin their throwing animation, which is actually well before they actually throw the knives. Now, these incense jars, we're not going to run into this problem quite yet, but later on you'll find some of them emitting purple smoke, which is poisonous. That poison effect disappears the instant you break the incense jar. And this big fat ass is what I like to call a guardian enemy. These guys protect these big switches that unlock the gate to the final boss of the lair. And they also guard sarcophagus treasure chests, which are found in bonus areas. They come in all kinds of different varieties, but those fat asses are definitely the most common. And as you can see, as you saw, not too difficult to deal with. Right now, this thing is only recovering 3 hit points every 3 seconds, which is not much, but, you know, every little bit counts. Always check the hallways for balconies and bridges that will usually indicate fake walls that you need to watch out for. Now, for the first boss of this layer, this Depth 1 dungeon. The Undead Giant is a massive pain in the ass. Compared to everything else in here, he's actually quite difficult. Biggest problem being that if you come here immediately after fighting the Blood-Starved Beast, you're probably going to be under-leveled for dealing with him, as he does massive damage. And as soon as the fight starts, he'll most likely do a jump attack from across the fucking arena even before his spawning animation finishes, and if you don't time it just right, it will do massive damage, if not kill you, and if you don't dodge properly, he'll get a counter damage bonus, which is almost certain to kill you. Even at my level. Because undead giants are bullshit. Oh. Well, that's a surprise. 3. No fourth one? And notice on his leg there, he's got a big pink blister. Hitting that will do a shit ton of damage. Once it pops, anyway. 3. Definitely doing more damage on him than I was the last time I was here. Shit! Look at that! More than half my damage with one hit, despite the fact that I'm overleveled as fuck for this place. I don't want to get too far away from him, because that's going to coax out his jump attack. I don't know what the fuck I broke on you that you needed to do that. 2, 3, 4. There you fucking go. Oh, that didn't even break it. That foot is surprisingly fast and hard to dodge if you're up close. That is literally the worst fucking thing they do. Shit! Because the shockwave is actually centered behind them. And I can tell from my rumbling controller that just being touched by his footsteps is giving me a tiny little stagger animation. Oh my god, are you fucking done? 1, 2, 3. And there's the counter damage bonus that comes along with that. Fuck off and die. Yeah, that shockwave does a huge amount of damage, particularly at deeper depths, and if you're trying to dodge it and you fail, he gets a 50% counter damage bonus on top of that, which, if you're level appropriate to that particular dungeon, it's almost certain to kill you. Which makes this guy one of the most bullshit bosses in the Chalice Dungeons. But seeing as how I'm ridiculously over-leveled, it actually makes it kind of fair. Now you want to recognize this pattern on this gold door, because these doors indicate separations between different areas. Like if the main dungeon is connected to bonus areas, finding a door like this will indicate to you that you're leaving the main dungeon area and going into a different one. Yes, we're all very impressed by your goddamn lighting system, but Jesus Christ, I'd like to be able to see. This is a visually based medium after all. You want to be careful with coffins like this laying up against the wall, because they like to hide puny little grunts in here to ambush you. Let's see. Which way do I want to go first? I want to go this way first. Yeah, in rooms like this, you want to check around these pillars, because they like to put treasure chests around them. And in rooms like this, even this over level, it only took a few enemies to almost fucking kill me there. Now in rooms like this, where you have a lower part on one side and an upper half on the other, on this ledge, they like to put two enemies, usually with flaming weapons, who will jump down and ambush you. Now if you get to the top half first, you can sneak up on them pretty easy. But if you come to the bottom half first, they will always hop down and come after you. You want to watch out, because they like to put these little fucking traps here, and a switch to trigger them. Now, this is a good way to use friendly fire if there's a guardian enemy. They usually put a guardian enemy right smack dab in the middle of this area. And if you got this trap set up, you can use that to help you kill them. But be warned, those things do a fucking shit ton of damage. Even one of them can kill you if you're not at max health. Even at this level, I wouldn't be surprised if those things killed me. I don't want to test that theory. Now, because there are only certain points at which doors can exist in these component rooms, it's good to smack areas of the wall where there could be doors, just to make sure there aren't any fake walls. Now, with fixed dungeons like this one, everything is always the same, so once you find it, you know that a fake wall or whatever is going to be there every single time. But with root dungeons, you really gotta explore. But the thing is, they generally tend to make fake walls pretty conspicuous. They're nowhere near as well disguised as they are in Dark Souls games. Like, you'll actually see the frame of a door clearly indicating that it's fake. Hey, bitch! And then all her servants die. Now the thing is, sometimes they'll have red phantom enemies that weren't summoned by Bell Maidens. They're actually just like normal enemies. They're solid, and they don't die when you kill the Bell Maiden. So you'll think that, oh, all these red enemies are going to disappear as soon as I kill her, and then you kill her, and they're still there kicking your ass. A Bell Maiden can only summon 3 at a time. Well, usually anyway, but there have been times where I've had a Bell Maiden who had already summoned 3 enemies. I get in her face and I'm trying to kill her, and then all of a sudden she summons 2 more at the same time. Now, I don't see a button in the floor, but there's a trigger point nearby. Like, it's not this. No, it's just a little bit ahead of this, but there's a trigger point that's going to cause 3 or 4 red enemies to spawn on me here. Boom! Now they're just as weak, if not a little weaker, than their normal white counterparts. And usually the switches that trigger that are a little more conspicuous. But yeah, if you got a big crowd on you popping up and you're already fighting other normal enemies that you haven't cleared out yet, shit can get overwhelming pretty damn fast. Now the 2 in those brackets indicates that this is ritual blood for depth 2 chalice rituals. We'll be using that shit later. Now, normally, brick walls like this that have roots on them are always solid. And I used to think that any doorway like this was perfectly solid, but then I was in a basement area with caves and dirt and shit. I had the usual framework for where a door could be, and I figured, oh, this is just a solid wall, and then I rolled into it, and then lo and behold, it was fake. So, and this is like after over a year of exploring Chalice Dungeons, and I'm still being surprised by shit like this. Oh, yeah, item over there. And sometimes on this side of this upper part, there'll be a smoke lantern here disguising one of the puny guys who will throw poison knives at you. Now, when you perform a visceral attack on almost any enemy in a Chalice dungeon, there's a chance that the bloodstain left behind can trigger the spawning of a blood bug or blood liquor. And killing those things in Chalice dungeons is the only way to obtain circular blood gems from the Chalice dungeons. Oh god, this ugly asshole. Now with guardian enemies, you want to do your best, if you can, depending on the layout of the room, to sneak behind them unseen so you can get a backstab visceral. Just makes things a lot easier, especially with this asshole. I do not like having to deal with the fact that he rolls around all over the fucking place, and at any time he can roll up right at you and just splay himself out flat and hit everything around him. It's kind of bullshit as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, roots on the wall. You know, this is a spot where a door could be. But normally, if there was a fake wall there, it would look more like this. It would have like that square framework where the door should be, and it would look like stone. But of course, it would disappear the second you hit it. They don't really disguise their fake walls that well in Chalice Dungeons, at least not for the most part. Where's the damn door? Now, there aren't going to be any balconies or bridges here in depth 1. In this fixed Chalice dungeon, I know. But it's always good to check, especially if you're exploring root dungeons or sinister dungeons. Now, this boss should have been at the end of layer 1. Now, I don't have my trusty burial blade, so this is going to be a little trickier than usual. Or not. This guy right here with the fucking meat cleaver is usually the biggest pain in the ass. Wow, I can't believe he lived. And he's dead. This guy is much easier to deal with. His attacks are so fucking slow. I would like to get out of the corner, please, camera. Now, when I go up and smack him in the face, I'm going to be expecting the second hit to stagger him, which will then trigger his lamp attack. If you shoot him right after that, you should get an easy parry. It was the third. And there you go. If the fight had lasted longer, he would have certainly swapped out his gun in favor of the club that the second guy was using. So there, I get a Tier 2 Tempering Blood Gemstone and the Pthumeru Root Chalice. Now that will require Depth 1 Ritual Blood, which, ironically enough, you don't get in this dungeon. The only... Whoops. Did not mean to leave. Okay, we're back. What the hell was I saying? Oh yeah, Depth 1 Ritual Blood. Ironically enough, you're not going to find any of that here in this dungeon. The only way to get it is either in Depth 1 Root Dungeon. Yeah, there is no Depth 1 or Depth 2 Sinister Dungeon. The only place you can find Depth 1 Ritual Blood is either in a Depth 1 Root Dungeon or the Messenger Bath. So after we're done this dungeon, we're going to have to actually buy Ritual Blood in order to do the Root Chalice. Always be careful when you're opening a door like that, because sometimes they like to place enemies like right outside them to ambush you the second the door's open. Hey, Dick. That long-ass wind-up swing can do a lot of freaking damage. Especially if you're level appropriate. Now, we got a Bell Maiden to take care of, so I got a whole ass here. And there's also a guy with a fucking cannon. See, look, 4 of them. And the Bell Maiden can only summon 3. Where are you, bitch? There she is. Okay, that's not a cannon that's shooting at me. That's these assholes. Those plants down there shoot meteors at you. You only see one of them in Bergenworth, but there's plenty more down here in the Chalice Dungeons. Handle with care. And don't miss that asshole. Sometimes they put guys up in big fat rooms like this. Sometimes they put guys on the 3rd floor who like to cause you problems. Now, as far as bell-ringing maidens are concerned, the worst ones of all are the ones who summon spiders, because those things are fast and they hit fucking hard. But the great thing about spiders is, if you lure them down the bottom of a ladder to an area that they can't climb back up from, because they need stairs, you can basically get them out of your way completely, and then the Bell Maiden won't have anyone to protect her ass while you go beat the shit out of them. Don't ever fight these guys from up front. Try to get around beside them, because they like to whip their heads around and do a shit ton of damage, and puke glowing goop on you. Now their blossoms fall off, and then you can collect arcane haze from them. The thing is, if they're facing a certain direction and their blossoms are like in a pillar or a wall, they're basically going to get stuck in there when they die, and then you won't get that. Now there is an item that'll let us transform other ritual materials into arcane haze, but we won't be getting that for a little while. Yoink! Yeah, always be careful of the underside of these kinds of areas, because they occasionally like to put man-eater boars down here, and if one of them spots you that you're not aware of, you're gonna have problems. Now, I know one of these has a... There he is, the little nightmare. See that? Don't stand in front of these pricks.